This is the Casio ProTrek PRG550, an analog digital outdoor watch first released back in 2012. It combines tough solar power with a compass, altimeter, barometer, and thermometer. But its technology is now more than a decade old, and today it is mainly sold as a clearance model. It can now be found for around 150 euros. So the question is the PRG550 outdated or is it still worth buying at this price? Let's find out. The box is simple, with the watch, the manual, and the usual Casio packaging inside. Once out of the box, the PRG550 immediately feels like a traditional ProTrek. It is large, solid, and at around 74 grams, noticeably heavier than the 58-gram PRG69. The analog digital design gives it much more character, and the large buttons are easy to operate. At first glance, the build quality still feels excellent despite the age of the model. The PRG550 has a detailed and well-finished design with a combination of brushed and polished surfaces that still looks premium today. The large bezel, exposed screws, and prominent buttons give it the rugged appearance expected from a traditional ProTrek. However, the bezel is fixed and cannot be rotated. The resin strap feels strong, but unlike on some newer models, the strap and buckle cannot be laid completely flat. This is a minor inconvenience for storage or photography, although it should not affect comfort on the wrist. Overall, the design feels solid, distinctive, and carefully made. The PRG550 uses an LED to illuminate the analog dial. It also has an automatic light function, which activates when you tilt your wrist towards you in low light conditions. The compass uses the second hand to point towards north, while the digital display shows the direction and bearing in degrees. It reacts a little more slowly than newer ProTrek models, but it is still perfectly usable. Continuous measurement lasts only 20 seconds compared with 60 seconds on newer models such as the PRG69 and PRG340. The altimeter also takes a few seconds to settle on a reading, so it feels noticeably slower than newer ProTrek models. The barometer also takes a few seconds to settle, but once it does, the reading appears accurate. One of my favorite features is tough solar. The watch converts both sunlight and artificial light into energy, so under normal use, regular battery changes are unnecessary. The charge level can also be checked on the digital display, although accessing it is a little less straightforward than I expected. The PRG550 does not have a hand shift function, so when the hands cover the digital displays, there is no quick way to move them out of the way. At around 150 euros, the PRG550 looks much more attractive than it did at its original price. But the older technology and a few practical limitations still raise an important question. Does the discount make up for them? Yes, at around 150 euros, I think the PRG550 is still worth buying. If you do not want to spend around 170 euros on a PRG69 and you do not mind the older, slightly outdated but still functional technology, this can be a good alternative. It makes even more sense if you specifically prefer an analog digital watch. A full review and a real-world field test are coming next, and I am also working on a highly requested comparison between the PRG69 and the PRG340. Subscribe if you do not want to miss them.